I'm Jess. Welcome to the Rochester Press Box from McGregor's.
The Rochester Press Box is brought to you by McGregor's Grill and Tap Room, now with 6 locations, including the newest at Easton Alexander, featuring in-house catering for parties. McGregor's, a beer lover's paradise. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Rochester Press Box here from McGregor's downtown. Bill Pucko with you, as always, with John Ditulio.
Billy.
Toby Mytoka rejoins us on Channel 13, and back again, Keith Friel, who can't just seem to get enough of the show. Keith, before we get started, great season with the Razorsharks. You come up that same team short. What is that, being second twice in a row now?
Yeah, bridesmaid. That was a tough one, but we just didn't do the little things at the end. We had a great season, and then they played great team basketball, made shots, and when it came down to it, we didn't. That's what it was. I mean, we scored 77 in the final. That's not. You're not
over the course
games.
of a couple seasons where you win 40 games, and yet you still are that far behind a team that's so good. What can you do? I mean, you can't make up that ground.
I mean, that's tough, especially with the season and the short season we had. Getting your team chemistry, you're just gelling, and then coming up short like that, especially with the way we are with travel in minor league. We have home court, yet we're starting on the road. So losing that first one kind of puts you behind, then getting back. So we were behind the 8 ball. We didn't do enough as a team to get it done, and it was tough. Stuff ending like that, especially because we had a great group of guys this year, and I had a lot of fun. Some of the most fun I've had in years playing.
Yeah, last thing too is have your mindset as far as coming back next year, giving another run.
I'm healthy. I feel great going into it. I'm open to anything, and I can't not come here for you guys. I'll fly and do this show. It's great.
Sharks aren't the Sharks without Keith Friel.
Yep. They never have been, right?
Nope.
Since day one. Hey, we got a bit of a problem here because we tape the show on Wednesday, and we're right between Games 6 and 7 of the NBA Championship Series. But man, you can't not talk about Game 6 and what happened. Was this one of the greatest games ever, guys?
One of the most compelling games. There's no doubt about it. I can't remember, and I've seen every NBA Finals since '73, where a team had the Larry O'Brien Trophy in their hands and they let it get away. That's why I think this is one of the best games ever played. It's an elimination game. The Spurs are in control. The best coach in basketball, veteran players, and yet they found a way to lose it, or did Miami find a way to win it? I think San Antonio found a way to lose it.
Yeah, you measure those games by how emotionally involved you become watching them, so what was it like, I hit a wall. When Allen hit that shot, I hit the wall.
I was going nuts. Someone came out with a stat that it was, if you're up 5 with 25 seconds or under, 98% of the time in the history of the NBA, you win the game. So that, when after LeBron missed that 3, the first 3 at the top, I'm thinking, that's it, that's a wrap. Get the ball, foul, game time, Spurs win another championship, end of an era, Pop probably retires, Duncan probably retires. Now we got Game 7. This has been a lot of fun as a fan to watch.
Yeah.
Only one thing I can compare it to, World Series a couple years ago, Texas and St. Louis.
That was a great
one strike away, you're up by 2 runs in the 9th inning, you give up the game-tying hit, we go to extra innings, St. Louis wins it, and it goes to Game 7. It's almost an identical situation. You saw how deflated Texas was. They really didn't seem too in it in the next game. I don't expect the same thing from the Spurs. They've been here too many times before, but man, how do you get up off the mat after you come that close?
Yeah, I'm a big baseball guy. I love that reference. And everyone loves the football. But I tell you, the flow and the pace of a basketball game under pressure like that, with it going back and forth, Keith, I don't know if there's anything better.
Personally, I know I'm a little biased, but as we all know, I am a monster sports fan of all sports. And like you're talking about, that ebb and flow, and when you're going back to back, and the momentum change and the shift change in that, the body language, place is going nuts. I was going nuts. And I haven't shown emotion like that just as a fan watching a game on TV in a long time. I was like, the shots, it was just a lot of fun and entertaining.
Yeah, however it winds up, it's going to go down as one of the all-time classics.
And really, you look at LeBron, because this is what this is all about. He was incredible in that 4th quarter. Loses the headband. He goes from hero to almost GOAT to back to being hero. because of the overtime, and Popovich should be questioned. I know hindsight's 20/20, but some of the decisions he made at the end of regulation and overtime has to be second guessed.
Yeah, well, he certainly hopes that Game 7 comes out his way. And again, we do this on Wednesday. We don't know, but Game 6 is an all-time classic. Could football disappear? We'll discuss that next.
Hi, I'm Kaylee, and you're watching the Rochester Press Box from McGregor's.
We're back, Rochester Press Box, McGregor's downtown. Bill with John, Toby, and Keith. On the surface, this seemed absurd. Lem Barney, an NFL Hall of Fame player over the past week, suggested that football could disappear from the map due to its various problems. I think, without discussing that, that's kind of off the wall and won't happen. But are there, Johnny, underlying problems that the NFL really kind of has to stay ahead of?
Well, I mean, listen, the equipment's getting better. They're doing everything they can to protect players. I think what it comes down to is HGH testing. That's basically what it comes down to. I mean, baseball gets a bad rap, yet their system's 10 times better than what professional football. The size of these players are ridiculous. The size and speed has never been out of control like this. 350 is the average now for some linemen. So until they get more stringent, I think, HGH testing, then I think that'll help curb the problem. But I don't think football's going away. It's not going away at the youth level, the collegiate level, and there's too much money, and it's so popular right now. It may not be number one in 30 years, but it's not going away.
Did you ever play football?
No, never played football. We didn't have it in my high school. Shocking.
Yeah.
Right, and I love football. I can't go to enough games. I can't stop watching it. But like John's saying, I mean, it is freakish. And the schools I was at, the level to win each weekend. These guys, I mean, they're training year round. And now, back in the NFL, 60s, these guys were car salesmen in the off season. So it's a year round thing. It's anything to get that edge. And the size of the guys and now the speed, and that's why all the stuff with the concussions. I mean, it's just hit a whole nother level.
Yeah. I see, Roger Goodell is like, I think being proactive, trying to stay ahead of things. That concussions thing and this looming lawsuit, I think is something that they have to worry about.
What I think that's going to cause more of a stir with would be at the youth level, even if this keeps on building up steam. If parents start having their 6-year-old kids, let's go play something else instead, and you see less football players coming down the pipeline in the long term. The bottom line, as long as people are going to pay the ticket price to go watch, we love violence in this country. No, we do. We love violence, and the HGH testing. If the players start getting smaller and the hitting starts getting less intense, then people may stop going to the games because, man, we want to see people get lit up in the NFL half the time.
Will that go away if we have tougher testing? I mean, is this something?
Players will
I mean,
get
there's
smaller.
still plenty that says that,
so.
the Major League Baseball is better when McGuire and Sosa were hitting the ball out of the park.
Yeah, I don't. Will people stop going to the games? That depends on the young generation. Right. It depends on Toby's or even the kids still to be born. I don't know if it'll go away because we don't have the big hits. As long as there's a lot of points being scored, I don't think there's a big issue.
I don't see that many cracks in the armor.
And we got to keep ticket prices from rising like this over and over and over again. Eventually, if we're starting to pay Yankee Stadium behind home plate prices for a ticket in the nosebleeds at the 50-yard line, then we're going to have some issues too.
We're talking NFL. I mean, college football, if you've gone to down south and gone to Alabama, any of these games, it's bigger than NFL. They're going 100 plus in these stadiums.
Yep.
And how many was number one? How many times did we see that hit South Carolina? Kid's a true freshman. Was Clowney?
That's
just crushing him in the back. Number one every week was that hitting him in the backfield.
These programs are worth $100 million.
Easy.
LSU, Alabama, Penn State, big programs that generate the entire revenue for varsity sports and for the university.
Why do you think Saban's not going to the NFL? He's making more than NFL coaches. He got $5.8 million this year.
And it's only going to get bigger as the playoff looms. When we return, like it or not.
Hi, I'm Alexa. You're watching the Rochester Press Box from McGregor's.
We are back with the Rochester Press Box here from McGregor's. It's time for Like It or Not, Like It or Not. Gavin Hall's performance in the U.S. Open.
I like it. I mean, if ESPN shows you 5 times for the good things you did and you're an 18-year-old kid making your U.S. Open debut, how can you not like it? I mean, that course brought the best in the world to their knees. And Gavin Hall, 11 over par, he had an eagle from the fairway on one hole. He had a few long birdie putts. He made his mistakes, but come on, I mean, he's got a bright future ahead of him in this game in life. Nice kid. So I loved it. I loved watching him. I think that it's just the beginning for him.
I know that you know Gavin. Besides, we all would have liked to have seen him make the cut.
Yeah.
That notwithstanding, what do you think he takes away from this?
Just watching and being a part of it. You're watching how the pros do their thing. You play a practice round with Adam Scott, who, by the way, also got his butt kicked by this course over the last week. But just the observation of it all and being in front of the galleries and being in front of the best in the world and just starting to feel like maybe I am one of them as opposed to just a fan anymore. It's just the beginning. Now he's just got to go to college, be an amateur for a little while, try again with the U.S. Open, and just take it slow and steady from here.
Alrighty, Keith, like it or not, Jason Kidd going right from the basketball court to coaching in the NBA.
I like it. I mean, I think there needed to be something to shake up the NBA coaching carousel. I mean, you see the same names, NHL and NBA every year. Whether it's Dunleavy getting fired from one spot, then ending up in LA like he did several years ago. It just seems like every year there's someone that it was canned under 500, and yet he's getting another shot. Then they're in there for 30 years, and now he's getting some new blood. I like Jason Kidd. I liked him as a player. I used to stay up and watch the midnight games when he was out at Cal. He's one of my favorite, and shoot, he's been around the game how long and learned from some of the best. And I always thought like his game evolved. If you watched him, all he could do was pass when he got in the league. Yep. Got that. I know this year was tough, especially for Knick fans, because couldn't make a J in the playoffs. But he evolved to the point where with the Nets and everything else, he was a serviceable shooter. Mm-hmm. And I just think his knowledge, guys coming up and young guys, you know what? I lived it. I've done it. Work with me, and he can fine tune what he wants to do as a system.
That's a risky hire, though, don't you think?
Well, I mean, I look at Mark Jackson, although he spent, 8 years, I think, as a broadcaster. He went right into the coaching ranks and has done a great job at Golden State. Larry Bird, same thing, went from, playing days, front office, goes down and starts coaching Indiana. So it has been done. But I think he's being brought in to really coach Darren Williams. I think that's the whole purpose why they brought Jason Kidd in, is to light a fire under, at one time, was the best point guard in basketball. At least you make that argument, Darren Williams.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt that he's beloved, right? They love him in New Jersey the same way, Rochester loves Keith.
Great analogy. But it's true with reference to Darren. Everybody knows that they do have that relationship, and he has been tough to coach. I mean, they fired him mid-season this year, and then Jerry Sloan, one of the all-time greats, had to get him out of there because they couldn't coincide. So they need someone that he'll actually have someone's ear and go to, because he's who's going to make the organization tick, especially all the money you just gave Darren Williams.
Yeah, and the Nets are certainly going to be an interesting team. Johnny, like it or not, the New York Mets future.
I love it. I mean, if you're gonna start winning, you start with pitching in Major League Baseball. Okay, I mean, now the Nationals have Harper and Strasburg, a little different, but the Mets have really had nothing to cheer about in a long time. You go back to their glory days when, Seaver and Ryan Koosman and pitchers like that. With Wheeler and Harvey, they've got a 1-2 punch now that is deadly. 2 flamethrowers. And then you build around that. Kind of reminds me of the Braves back in the early 90s when they had Avery coming up through the ranks and Glavine. Of course, they acquired Smoltz from Detroit. They bring in Maddox from the Cubs. Next thing you know, they're winning NL East or NL West titles plus East titles for years. You got Daniel Murphy, you got David Wright. You got a core there now. Now you start building around those two.
Like, when was the last time this team had a more important day?
Yeah, I saw a tweet yesterday that said this is the best day of the year. Christmas will be a close second. Watching both those kids pitch on the same day and pitch as well as they did against such a good offense in Atlanta. But my mind continues to gravitate towards, until proven otherwise, how will the Mets mess this up? Who will they trade Harvey for that's in an expiring year of his deal, who will then blow out his elbow and never pitch
again? You look at the Giants.
Zambrano,
Kane and Lincecum, they've been able to parlay those two into 2 World Series titles. You get a couple of flamethrowers, you'll start winning games.
Keep them. Keep those two guys.
Do
not give them up.
Every 4th and 5th day, you're guaranteed to be in those games, which I think is fantastic.
Well, you're thinking of the San Francisco Giants and the Mets not screwing it up. That's where Wheeler came from, right?
Yeah.
He was in the Carlos Beltran deal.
Yeah.
All righty, we return with Unfinished Business.
Hi, I'm Haley, and you're watching the Rochester Press Box from McGregor's.
Back with the press box here from McGregor's Unfinished Business. John.
All right, Billy, talking about trying to hit somebody while they're already down. Penn State's been linebacker U for years. Keith Jackson dubbing Penn State linebacker U started way back when in the late 60s and up until now with players like Sean Lee and Navarro Bowman. Well, here comes UCLA, really known for basketball, not football. Well, the UCLA football program tweeted out linebacker U the other day. Why? Not because they have great linebackers or a great tradition, unless you count Ken Norton Jr. as a great linebacker. Jeff Ulrich is their linebackers coach, assistant head coach. So they thought it would be kind of cute and funny to dub the Bruins as linebacker U. Stop. Okay. USC, you have a case. Miami, you have a case. But in the meantime, linebacker U belongs in State College with Penn State. The last time I checked, maybe the two best linebackers in football, just my opinion, Navarro Bowman and Sean Lee, both from Penn State. Oh, by the way, Tamba Hawley, Cameron Wake, the list goes on and on. UCLA, you're a basketball school. You're not even relevant in your own city when it comes to football.
Unbiased opinion, too. I like that.
Well, that's it. I'm here on behalf. I speak. I am the mouthpiece for Bill O'Brien and all Penn State alums.
All righty.
All right, Keith?
I know I'm a basketball guy, but as a sports fan, you have to love the NHL playoffs right now. I know these games, I know I'm a Boston guy, Bruins fan, but having the market, two big markets, Chicago, Boston, going like it's been. Game one was the highest ratings in Stanley Cup playoffs history. One, having it back from abandonment off of the versus, getting it back is definitely helped. But as a fan, I've just this whole playoffs between the NBA, NHL, I haven't got much sleep, and I'm happy with it right now. I'm unemployed. Help me out, guys.
I think we all like when a guy coming from one sport has got a total appreciation of another, though. I think that's really
got
cool.
to as a fan. I mean, I just appreciate sports and good competition, and it's just been at its peak.
Yeah. And we're talking about where hockey is right now. They were pleased as heck about that first number. And yet it was 1/5 of what the NBA got at its peak for that Game 6 in Miami. Really amazing. It's basketball first. You picked the right sport, man.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Toby?
If you watched Twitter during the game last night as well, and you had both up at the same time, and as this great basketball game's going on, your Twitter feed was probably full of LeBron's this, LeBron that, LeBron this, oh, LeBron, Chris Bosh looks like a dinosaur, LeBron. It was just kind of like a whole chain of events that just ended up with people just ripping on LeBron every chance they get. It's time to stop. In my opinion, it's been a few years. He's won a championship. We don't all have to love the guy. We don't have to worship the ground he walks on. But the LeBron-MJ comparisons, people just can't wait to say, he's no MJ, he's no this, he's no that. He's not even the best player in this league. I'd take Kobe. The guy in a bad game had 32 points and a triple-double, right? If that's a bad game, according to a lot of people on Twitter, I'll take that any day of the week. He's his own player. He's won a championship. He's unbelievably dynamic, can be a little streaky from time to times, but I think it's time we just appreciate it as opposed to just waiting for an opportunity to pounce on it.
How active are you on Twitter? You guys, have you
active enough?
Did you spend last night?
A couple things. I stopped because the game was all over the place. The only thing I tweeted was, why is Tiago Splitter on the floor? I mean, why is he even playing? He should be obsolete in this series, and a couple of bad calls, which I thought the officials made. But overall, I just kind of stayed off of it because this game, I didn't want to miss the game.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm missing the game while I'm trying to type something.
But as Tony Parker's hitting that fall-away three to tie the game for the Spurs, my Twitter feed filled with why LeBron hadn't taken over in the last 2 minutes. And I was like, can we just appreciate that unbelievable shot by a guy who may be a future Hall of Famer?
But then you
himself?
retweeted it, Toby. I mean, come on.
And I agree. I don't know why. We seem obsessed with comparing eras.
Yeah.
Just quickly, anyone out there remember Michelle Wie? Well, of course, she was in Rochester just a couple of weeks ago playing in the LPGA Championship. Michelle Wie is, and it made me think about her when we're talking about Gavin Hall and Zach Wheeler and Matt Harvey, people with their futures ahead of them. Michelle Wie was playing majors in the LPGA at age 13. There was discussion about her being too good for the LPGA. She was going to play on the men's tour. Actually played 7 PGA events and made a cut in the Asian Tour. She finished 35th. Well, she peaked in 2006 at the age of 16 with 3 top 10 finishes in the 4 majors at the LPGA. She's had 2 top 10s since. She was 9th place at Locust Hill, shot an opening round of 76 and wasn't really relevant as far as the tournament goes. It's a good player, but she's another good player that's playing for a position on the Solheim Cup of the LPGA. And really there's a lesson there, is being labeled a phenom doesn't guarantee you anything in life. And Michelle Wee may be the first person you want to ask that. Guys,
Billy, good
thanks
stuff.
very much.
You got it.
John, Toby, Keith,
Thanks, guys.
anytime. He said you'll fly in. Remember, we're going to hold you to that.
On my G6.
All right, thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. We'll see you again next week.